I'm doing well because I've got a really high step count. I eat pretty badly, but I train 3 days a week. I try to eat a healthy diet. Well, I have a couple of drinks every night, but I do train. Yeah, I don't need to exercise. I eat blueberries. Do any of those statements sound like something you've said before?
Come over. Don't fight how you really feel. Come close.
The lies that we tell ourselves about fitness, our own health, and the road to the aesthetic looking body that we actually want. Are any of those things true? And can you get where you want to get with shortcuts? Okay, so most of us have probably said something like that before. And to be fair, a lot of those statements are the type of things that you tend to read in the newspapers or, is perpetuated by the media. And you often see these enticing little media stories that are out there saying, all you have to do is do your 8,000 steps a day and buy a fitness watch and, that's healthy. Or all you have to do is eat 5 portions of fruit and veg a day and, you don't have to worry about anything. Or there'll be some article about this is great, blueberries cure everything. If you just eat blueberries, then you'll never have to worry about cancer and you're going to be super fit. The problem with those articles is that they're designed to sell the media. So they're designed to sell the newspaper or to sell the views to whatever platform that they happen to be on. And the reason that they sell so well is because people are automatically interested in any sort of health and fitness perspective that doesn't involve really hard work on their part. So we've discussed this many times now, we're hardwired as human beings to find the shortest route, the most efficient route to whatever end of task we're doing. And sometimes that's fantastic. If you're doing a manual job, you've probably done this before. I know I have. That after a few days of doing that manual job and you kind of start speeding up and you find little ways to make it quicker, don't you? You find little nuances that you hadn't noticed before that you can I can put those things in a batch and do all those at once, and that speeds up the whole process. And that's amazing. That's a really good thing about that sort of evolutionary trait that human beings have, that we've got this automatic ability built into us to just speed stuff up so we get really efficient at things. Think about driving a car, for example. When you first started driving it, you're probably looking down at the gear stick and looking at your feet on the pedals, and everything was really clunky and slow. And over time, subconsciously, you've worked out ways to make that really quick, really effective, nice smooth gear changes. Don't even think about it. In fact, you can get to the other end of a journey and you probably can't even remember half of the drive that you did, because you've literally got it streamlined to perfection just from repetitive, doing that so many times. So that's great, but we're hardwired to look for that in everything, and sometimes that has negative connotations because not everything can be streamlined efficiently, and one of those things is unfortunately our health and fitness. So while it's very nice to think that we can find these quick shortcuts and we always look for them, they rarely, if ever, are effective in terms of bringing about decent change, bringing about healthy change or bringing about any aesthetic change. And the gyms are absolutely full of people that, probably 60 to 70% of the people that I see in gyms never reach their aesthetic chosen body type. You've got guys in there that want to be more muscular and they never get more muscular. You've got guys and girls in there that want to get leaner. They don't appear to get any leaner over a long period of time. And, there's very good reasons for that. And a lot of that is because they've been kind of misguided by some of these news articles out there. So let's go through this stuff. So step count, we see a lot of stuff about that. It's often perpetuated in media that if you're meeting certain type of step count, that, X amount of steps, might be 8,000, 10,000, whatever it is, that you don't even have to bother going to a gym, you don't have to do anything, you can eat what you like. You know, if you're getting your steps in, then you're a healthy person, and that is utter nonsense. You know, one of my big bugbears is this step count thing, because look, we should all be having a high step count anyway. That's not like it's a optional exercise routine. You know, that's just part of being a human being and moving around the place. If you're sitting down in an armchair every day and never moving, then maybe, you know, if you've got some sort of medical reason for that, then maybe step count comes into play, that slowly you're going to build that up in your rehabilitation period. Or if someone was like, you know, ridiculously overweight, super obese, then maybe that would come into play. But for an average person, we should all have a high step count. That isn't considered, to me, exercise. That is just being a normal human moving around the place. And if you haven't got a high step count and there's nothing wrong with you and you're not weighing 400 pounds, then get moving. You know, stop taking the car everywhere, stop sitting around and not doing anything, and get your body moving around, because being sedentary is not healthy for the body and it's not healthy for the mind. But please don't think that that is some sort of exercise routine. That isn't. That should be your default setting. The one I probably hear the most is this next one, which is, yeah, I have a really bad diet, but I do go down to the gym. You know, so I hear loads of people say that. Look, there's no way around this. Diet is like 70% of the equation when it comes to health and when it comes to the aesthetic look of your body. Like, I could not go down the gym at all and I could have a really good diet and I would still look pretty good shape. I would be pretty lean. I would be quite healthy. I would, you know, have reasonable sort of blood pressure. My heart rate would be pretty reasonable. My cholesterol levels would probably be fairly reasonable. And I'm talking about on average for an average person. Then you do that the other way round. So you eat, you know, a terrible sort of Western processed foods diet of chicken nuggets and chips and all the other rubbish that people tend to eat. But you go down the gym 3 or 4 times a week. That doesn't cancel out the diet, you know, far from it. It doesn't really help you at all. It's of minimal use if you're just inputting a bunch of junk into your body, because part of going to the gym is actually harnessing what you've eaten and then giving the body signals to work with the building blocks that you've eaten. So if you go to the gym and lift up weights, you're sending a signal to the body to grow some muscle tissue, because you've, you know, slightly stressed it and damaged it lifting these weights, and the building blocks for that is all the decent quality protein you've eaten, and then all the micronutrients that you've eaten. And say you've had you know, salads with lean protein, with a fish or chicken or whatever it is, all those micronutrients are going to be involved in cellular repair of the body. So without any of that food, the body's not going to be able to do anything that you're signaling for it to do. So the best outcome that you're going to get from the gym is that you're going to burn off some of the calories that you've intaken. But that isn't going to ward off, you know, things like heart disease and diabetes and all this other stuff, because actually your body is, you know, just intaking junk all the time, and it's got nothing to build with. It's doing nothing to influence things like fighting off cancer, because your body, its immune system is completely dependent on all the stuff you put in it. It's if you, by exercising isn't putting anything into your body, it's just going to harness what's already in there. So you need that intake in there. It's like having a Ferrari and then not putting any petrol in it. You know, it's a useless commodity. The most important thing that people can do is to have a good diet. If you're going to skip anything, skip the exercise part and make sure your diet's on point. The reason that people do the exercise part and then say, oh, my diet's pretty rubbish, but I do go down the gym so it balances it out, that's because going down the gym can be fun. It's kind of cool to go and lift weights for some people. You know, it's a social thing for some people. It's a nice little trip out. It makes you feel good once you've done it. You know, it gives you a kind of bit of an endorphin rush, and you don't get that from dieting. You know, the diet part is really boring compared to the gym part, and it's a lot of work and it's a lot of responsibility because you have to plan it out, you have to do a bit of research, you have to go down the shops and make sure you're always stocked up with food, and you're probably cooking every other day in batches. So people don't want to do that because it's boring and it's responsibility and work. But if you want the body that you want, or you want to be really healthy and extend your life, that's what you must do. You know, that's the responsibility you must take. It is not good enough to just go down the gym. And you can kid yourself all you want that you know, you're fighting against this bad diet by going down the gym. You're not. That's just, you know, you're lying to yourself. So one of the other things people tend to do with diet, you know, if they're wanting to be healthier, the killer one is, well, I try to eat as healthy as possible. And what they mean by that is, you know, they're maybe intaking a bit of extra veg, they're, you know, cutting out a little bit on some red meat maybe and replacing it with chicken or whatever. But on the whole, they're not making much of a change to their diet, which again isn't going to yield any great benefits. You know, if you're eating, you know, ham sandwiches and crisps and whatever for lunch, and then dinner you throw in a few salad leaves, and then you know, you have a pot noodle 2 hours later or whatever, that's still not a good diet. And your diet doesn't have to be perfect. I'm not saying that every meal you eat has to be sort of religiously sacrosanct and perfect, but you need to make an effort. You need to plan the diet out, because you're not going to reach your goals. It's simple as that. If you've got goals, if you want an aesthetic goal, you want to get stronger, you want to get more muscular, you want to have abs, all that's achievable. But you need to sort your diet out. If you want to lose weight, you need to sort your diet out. You know, the killer thing for people that want to lose weight is to go, oh, I'm going to try and eat a bit healthier. You're never going to lose any weight. You know, you might try and starve yourself for a week, and then you'll just bounce back, eat a load of junk again, because you haven't got a definitive plan in place. So I hear this one a lot. Well, I have a couple of alcoholic drinks every night, but I do go to the gym. Again, that doesn't cancel it out. And in fact, you know, the alcoholic drinks, you're poisoning your body with those every single night. You're inhibiting any muscle growth, and you're messing with your hormones. If you're a male, you're greatly reducing your testosterone levels. Even a couple of drinks every night, over time your test levels will plummet. You're increasing your estrogen levels as a male, which is pretty bad news for muscle building. Not great news for probably your partner, because that won't lead to the greatest of sexual performances either. So if you're concerned about things like that, you know, I would knock the drinking on the head, or at least limit it to say once a week or once a month, whatever. But you know, there's a reason they call it brewer's droop. It's because if you keep inhibiting your testosterone and causing estrogen to be maybe a bit more of a predominant hormone than it should be, then you're going to have some sexual dysfunction, and you're going to have zero ability to gain muscle in the gym. Not only that, you're going to really struggle with fat loss, because you're going to lose any of the benefit that testosterone gives you in terms of fat loss. And it does, you know, having good testosterone levels does really help keep you lean, because it's building more muscle tissue. If you can build more muscle tissue, that's burning up more calories, better metabolic rate, etc., etc. And despite what people say, you know, going down the gym a few times a week doesn't balance it out. You know, that's not going to make up for the fact that you're drinking every night. So again, if that makes you feel good, whatever, you know, great, but don't kid yourself, man. That isn't balancing things out at all. Okay, so when I hear from people that go to the gym, but they're going to the gym because it's sort of, they feel that they have to. So they'll say like, well, I go to the gym, you know, 3 times a week. I don't train too hard. I don't want to, you know, I don't want to sort of do anything bad to myself. And if you want results in the gym, you need to train hard. There's no other way to train. You know, I see a lot of people in the gym and they're there, they're sort of doing these exercises, counting to 10, like reading a book almost with the other hand. A lot of them are like looking at their phones the same time as they're doing these reps, and you can see them like counting up to 10. Right, that's 10, put the weight down. They haven't stressed themselves whatsoever. You know, they might as well have just sat at home in an armchair and moved their arms about for a few seconds and then sat still again. That's pointless. Unless you are recovering from some sort of injury, in which case obviously take it easy and build your way up. Even people in injury recovery, I've had a few friends recently in serious injury recovery, 2 of which actually had a road traffic accident and had severe spinal injuries. Both of them broke their backs, fractured their spines in 2 different places, and both of them afterwards were told, you know, you need to get training, you need to get into some sort of fitness training to get back, and you're going to find that when you train it's going to feel uncomfortable, and actually that's kind of what you want. You know, you don't want it to not feel uncomfortable, because nothing's happening if you're not feeling uncomfortable. And the doctors told them both, you shouldn't certainly train to, you know, if you're in agony, if the level of pain is 10, something's going badly wrong. But they actually said on a level of 1 to 10 at pain, don't be surprised that when you're doing your exercises, you reach maybe a 6 or a 7. So that, you know, that's the medical advice to someone who's got a fractured spine and they're training for recovery. So if you haven't got a fractured spine and you're going down the gym and you're going, oh God, you know, I don't like that, it feels a bit uncomfortable, have a think on that. Yeah, that is ridiculous. You know, you need to be putting in some serious effort. I used to train with a guy who had 1 leg, and he used to squat, and he had a false leg. I didn't even know he had a false leg for like 6 months. I was squatting with this guy. He was seriously strong. I had no idea one of his legs was false until we were getting changed in the back room one day at the gym after training. And he literally took his leg off, and I was like, what? And I said, what? You know, what's going on? And he was like, yeah, I lost my leg in the Falklands War. And no big deal. I don't like to make a scene out of it. But like, this guy's squatting like 180 kilos with me, you know, no problem at all. And it blew my mind. But when he came out of hospital, he told me that they wanted him to have help and support. And he refused that, and he dragged himself around on the floor just by, you know, pulling himself around on his arms, and he recuperated himself, and then he got back in the gym within about 6 weeks of having no leg. So if you're sat at home and you're going, oh, I don't like training too hard at the gym, think on that guy dragging himself around on the floor. He squats with 1 leg. So, you know, give yourself a hard time about that. Get down the gym, get some work done. Otherwise, you might as well not bother going down the gym. You're just disco dancing. So a lot of the big guys lifting the weights, and they say, oh, I don't bother with cardio, I lift weights. And my answer to that is, okay, so you don't care about your general health then? Because although lifting weights is fantastic for, you know, fat loss, it's fantastic for muscle building, and it does have some benefits to your general health, the best thing you can do exercise wise for your general cardiovascular health is to actually do cardiovascular exercise and push yourself. So if you're not doing any, or you're one of these guys that's like walking along at 4 miles an hour on a treadmill and thinking, oh, that's good for fat loss, but I don't want to push it too hard, I might go catabolic. Firstly, you're not going to go catabolic. That's ridiculous. You know, doing half an hour or so of cardiovascular exercise a day isn't going to suddenly lose all your muscle tissue. That is crazy. Maybe if you were in the top 10% of IFBB pro bodybuilders, that might be a consideration. But we're talking about, they will do anything to get a tiny edge. So if that tiny edge is attained through maybe doing a really limited cardio schedule, then that's might be a good decision for them. But don't forget, a lot of those guys die when they're 40 and 50 years old. So they're trading out some of their life expectancy in order to win these competitions, and most of us probably aren't thinking along those lines. If you're thinking along the lines of living for a long time and giving yourself the best chance possible for a long, healthy life, and that as you start getting towards the latter years of your life, you're actually able to enjoy them and go on active holidays and pick your grandchildren up and walk them around the garden and whatever, start doing cardiovascular exercise, start doing at least half an hour a day and go at it hard. And again, get checked out first. You know, if you've got a heart problem or something, you need to get that signed off by the doctor and take advice from him. But if there's nothing wrong with you, you need to go and do some hard cardiovascular exercise. No messing about, none of this like, oh, I don't like doing it too fast, oh, I don't like getting out of breath, I don't like getting sweaty. Get into it, get hardcore with the cardio, and the results will speak for themselves. So the last one I've got is, I hear a lot of people talk about superfoods, and they're like, well, you know, I don't do exercise, or I don't eat generally healthy diet, but what I do is eat blueberries, or what I do is eat X superfood. Insert the current popular superfood. And that is generally, you know, they've been reading like the Daily Mail newspaper or something, and they've read an article in there that says, you know, if you eat this, it fights cancer, it makes your heart better, and you haven't got to worry about a thing. So there probably is some small amount of truth to these superfood things, in that indeed that superfood very likely has something in it which has been shown in some sort of test, in some sort of experiment, to have a specific benefit to the body. However, when you go and research that, you normally find that actually it's quite a high level of whatever compound that is, and you're not getting that amount or anywhere near that amount from the very small amount of the superfood you're eating a day. So eating a handful of blueberries or whatever isn't anywhere near the amount you would need to actually exhibit the benefits that they've shown in this study. And it's just a nice, easy way to sell newspapers or sell a media story online, because again, people are very attracted to finding these quick fixes, especially when it has to do with our mortality. And you suddenly imagine that just eating some fruit every day will ward off cancer for everything, or it will eradicate any heart disease that you could imagine. You know, like, that's just not realistic, and the likelihood is that it's a very different amount to what you're actually intaking with that food. The other thing is, there's no singular food that's going to completely sort your health out. You know, when we talk about superfoods, the idea behind that would be that yes, indeed, all these superfoods have some really good benefits, but what you should then do is make a diet that's abundant in all of them. You know, like, have as many good superfoods as you can, have a varied, healthy diet that's full of whole foods, that's homemade, home prepared, home cooked, locally sourced if possible. You know, that's the idea of superfoods. It isn't just to pick one thing out of many and then intake that and think that that somehow balances out your other bad choices. It doesn't. And again, you're just, you know, you're lying to yourself, and you're not actually getting anywhere with that. You're not going to magically ward off all disease by eating one singular type of food. That's it, guys. Sorry to give you a hard time, but you know, we're all about the honest truth here, about the spiky truth, not the beautiful lies that people like to hear. If you got any more of the ideas on lies that we like to tell ourselves, chuck them down in the comments. Or if there's anything that you disagree on, then stick it down in the comments as well. We can have a discussion on that one. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you next time.